Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 97th episode of the Manor Podcast. I'm your co-host, Roger Bodee, joined as always with my best friend and other co-host, Michael Hamilton. Michael, I am officially at the phase of deck building where I feel like I can't win with anything ever, doing anything, no matter what, and I'm losing to even the heroes that I'm putting on last place in my deep tier this week. I'm tired, man. Should I just play less Flesh and Blood? Is that the key to success?
I wouldn't say less flesh and blood is the key to success, but if you are burnt out and you aren't playing very well, then a break does help.
But I want to find the perfect new list. It has to be somewhere in the 80 cards currently available. You know, she has to be broken. I know it. I believe in it.
She has to be broken.
Yeah, she's the new Bolton. Spoilers.
But Bolton was never broken.
I rest my case.
Just never found the perfect 80, you know?
Yeah. I got close. I was so close, you know? If only I found the actual perfect 80, I would have won everything on Bolton, but I could never. I'm in the exact same predicament where I can't find the exact perfect 80 for new either.
The exact perfect 80 that definitely exists. You just haven't found it yet.
Yeah, 100%. It's there.
Okay. I believe in you.
You're locked in, though? You don't have to say. You're not as open as I am with information. You still got secrets to keep, stories to tell.
Yeah, I'm fairly locked in on the hero I'm playing, mostly because trying to figure out a different deck is a lot of work, and I've already put a lot of time into this deck, so we're just playing this one. I might switch it up for the Pro Tour if I go. I'm not even positive I'm going to Amsterdam. I think I'm going, but yeah, if I go, I might play something different there. But I'm fairly locked for Nationals. Just figuring out the last few slots as always.
How about a little hot secret, maybe a little giveaway, like tip your hand just a little bit, not everything, just tip your hand. Is your hero on the tier list you made?
Is it on the tier list I made?
Yeah.
Yes, because the only heroes that are not on the tier list are heroes that are not legal in the classic constructed format of Flesh.
There you go, everybody. We're really narrowing it down, you know? I'm an expert at Guess Who. It's one of my best games.
In fact, my hero is in the top third of my tier list.
Does your person have a nose?
I don't know. I would guess yes, but I don't know.
Does your person resemble a humanoid shaped figure with some number of arms? I was going to say two arms, but that would actually eliminate somebody with some number of arms and some number of legs.
My hero has at least one arm. I can confirm that.
Wow.
So anyway, thanks to our sponsors, the Realm Games. They
are made up of people with eyes and nose and arms and legs too.
Yeah, and they run great tournaments. So
also filled with other humanoids like you and I
that have at least one arm and play characters that have at least one arm.
Mm-hmm. In the Flesh and Blood, and in the Sorcery, and in the Star Wars Unlimited, and in the Alpha Clash, and in the other hot new TCGs that are all the rage in today's industry. If there's a hot new game, the Realm is on it, baby. Probably. Ooh. Unless it's a bad game, then they're probably not on it. It has to be a good game. It's in the qualifying text for the Realm's contracts. The game must be good.
And because good is subjective, they can just run whatever games they want, right?
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff they teach you in law school, you know?
So today we're talking about our tier list for the new class constructed metagame, right?
Yeah. So as everyone is wont to do, I've seen some tier lists floating around. Ours are going to be shocking and controversial as always, but still 100% objectively correct. I can't think of a single time either one of us have ever gotten one of our tier lists wrong or misplaced a single hero ever. We've always nailed it 100% of the time, and I'm sure that will continue to be the case with this list.
Yeah, I mean, just look at our track record, right?
It speaks for itself, Michael. I don't think we have to talk about it anymore.
You're right, it does speak for itself. All right, you want to start at the top?
No, let's start at the bottom. That's how we do it around here. We start at the bottom.
All right. F tier. How many heroes in your F tier?
Oh, you have F tier? I started a D tier. The tier list maker I had started a D tier.
The thing you linked me had 6 tiers. I went S through F.
Did I not scroll for far enough? Okay, I'll put the bottom 2 heroes in my D tier and F tier, and
All
that'll
right,
balance things out.
I got 5 heroes in F tier. These are heroes I believe you should not register if you are trying to win a tournament. If you are there to have fun and play your favorite hero, great, play these guys. But if your goal is to win and do the best as possible, I do not think these are the heroes you should choose.
Yeah.
Starting at the bottom, we got Betsy.
Yeah, that's who I have. If we drop all my people down, we got a Betsy, worst hero in the game right now. But we're on the same page.
Spoiler alert: she's the worst of the Guardians by a lot, and Guardians are in a bad spot right now.
Yes, 100% agree.
Who you got next?
Bolton.
No, you don't.
I have Bolton. I have as second from the bottom right now. There's objectively no reason to play the hero right now. Don't. If you're thinking about playing the hero, don't. I'm not playing the hero right now. If I'm not playing the hero, you should not be playing the Bolton.
That is not where Bolton belongs currently. He has too many very, very powerful Majestics, a very good equipment suite, and just does things that are too powerful to warrant being the second worst hero in the game when we have heroes like Arachne in the game. And
I think Arachne
bad.
might be better positioned than Bolton at this point in time, especially considering there's no dual deck Arachne coming out in freaking a month or whatever. Like, why would they do this to me? They made a whole new spoiler with all these sweet, awesome Bolton cards. You know, when it comes out after Nationals, after U.S. Nationals. Why would they do that to me? I want to play with all those cool new Bolton cards. I couldn't even tell you what they do. I haven't even looked at them. I kind of looked at them and people are like, oh, these are some really good Bolton cards. Bolton's going to be really good S tier hero soon. You know what? That's fine. He's not now. Don't work on him. Don't touch him. He's going to be completely different and completely radicalized in like 2 weeks. It's just like, don't. He's the second worst hero in the game. The only way you could waste your time more right now is to work on Betsy.
Hard disagree, but anyway. I got 3 more heroes in F tier. You want me to just go through them?
Go for it.
All right, we got Olympia. Olympia got a specialization. It's not very good. The hero's not very good still. He still has the same things as before, but there's still not a reason to play him over any of the other warriors. Even Bolton. I think Bolton is still better than Olympia right now, despite Roger's placement on the tier list. Next, we got Reinar. Reinar, he also sucks. You probably shouldn't play him over the other brutes. He's really good if heroes want to block you out. And there aren't a lot of heroes that just want to block a whole bunch right now. They kind of want to hit you. They want to hit you dead. And Reinar says you can't block. They're like, okay, I will play my 5-card hand. And Reinar has trouble going above rates. He's not very good at it. Occasionally he can Blood Rush Bellow, but there are better Blood Rush Bellow heroes in the game, and we'll get to them later.
Yeah. And at least you know what, with this hero, people know I am being objective in my opinions, you know? I didn't just put Bolton in S tier last time for the memes. I meant it. He was the best hero in the format. I couldn't find the perfect 80. Now he's second worst hero because their perfect 80 doesn't exist.
Could he ever just be in the middle?
No. He's very polarizing figure, you know? He's very yin or yang. He's very hit or miss. He's very hot or cold or yes or no or in or out. You know, I think Katy Perry wrote a song about him, I think.
All right. Rounding out my F tier, we got Bravo. We talked about this. Guardians are not in a good spot right now. Period. They just aren't. They have bad matchups into a lot of the top decks. And when we get to the top tier, I'll talk about how all of them are basically good against Guardian. The only good hero that Guardian wants to play against is Azalea, and that matchup's pretty good for Guardian, but that's it. That's the only one.
Yeah.
At least Bravo.
And does it help that LSS printed new sweet legendary gloves for everyone? I guess they're not very good into Guardian, but I guess for heroes that come pre-buffed, though, everybody just gets block 2 gloves on their arms, but the fridge is just something that Guardians are really struggling into at the moment because every hero has approximately like 30 armor on their starting armor total at the moment, and then also just has like a lot of resiliency to the very specific crush effects if you don't line them up at exactly the right time. So yeah, like you said, not a great time to be trying to crush people right now.
Yeah. The old 4-card Dominate, Crippling, Crush. That's just going to get blocked out too often now by people using armor. They don't even have to have specific tech cards for you. And defense reactions are fairly common too, which makes it's not good news for Bravo. You can try to play hard fatigue Bravo, but there are
Why?
several heroes in the game that are very, very good at punishing that strategy that you'll have roughly a 0% win rate against. So fatigue Bravo is not it. You can be okay against some decks, but you're just going to die to the others. And yeah, I would not play any of these 5 heroes if you're trying to win tournaments.
Yeah.
All
To
right.
be fair, though, if we go to the bottom of my D, I got 4 heroes in D.
I got 5 more in D. Go ahead.
I got Arachne, bottom of
Okay.
D, and then I got
Somehow higher than
Bravo.
Bolton.
Arachne,
Okay.
yeah, Arachne. If you want to talk about Arachne, I remember when, because like there's at least like if you haven't looked at the full spoiler of part the Mistveil yet, you could have some kind of hope that maybe they printed some cool new assassin cards for Arachne. Like they have to print some assassin cards in the assassins that's just like base assassin class. You know, it's kind of like how Katsu got a couple of cards out of the set, and how base illusion or like just illusionists got some cool tools for whatever like their future illusionist things they'll be doing going forward will be invariably. And you know, you would think that if we're gonna print some cards for base assassins, all the assassins will kind of like get a little something, you know, a little something for Uzuri, some fun new stealth cards, and go look at the spoiler. Arachne got nothing. There's legitimately 0 cards for Arachne in the set, which is crazy.
Yeah, the blue block 3 attack react from the expansion slot of was it last set or the set before that? I don't remember, but the one that lets you look at their top 3 cards and you banish one of them and you give your contract cards go again. That
I
card is
forgot that
pretty
card
good.
existed.
The card is pretty good. Unfortunately, it was not enough to pull Arachne out of the bottom of the barrel. They are still in quite a bad spot.
And I think as long as they just don't ever print more contract support ever, I mean, I guess it's only been 2 heroes, so I mean, I'm sure eventually someday or down the line we'll see support for the contract keyword. But it sucks that like right now the assassins are basically split into like 2 assassin classes. You got stealth assassins, you got contract assassins, and it's just like they don't play well together. They're built like if you're playing contract Uzuri, which is popular, I know like some people are like, oh, play contract Uzuri. It's just like you don't have a hero ability. Cool. Like why?
Yeah, you have to play some stealth cards to use Uzuri's hero ability. I think it's really they're really in a rough spot because if they make contract support too good, like Arachne's hero ability really sucks. So if they make good contract cards, then like or more good contract cards, they're just going to support other assassin builds. Like you see surgical extraction and leave no witnesses in every assassin deck because the cards are just really, really good. So if they print more good contract cards, it's not going to make Arachne good necessarily. It's going to be, oh, here's a really good contract card that all assassins will play.
I don't know. I don't work for LSS anymore. This isn't my problem to solve. Don't play Arachne. He's bottom of D tier. Don't play Bravo. We already talked about Bravo. He's dumb. Don't play Tech Levasin. AB doesn't help you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, Tech Levassin's next on my list. The new Evos don't fix the Kano matchup, and Runeblades aren't really common. I do think they actually do improve your Runeblade matchup, where you can like play a real game into Runeblades because you have these now. But they're not going to fix your Wizard matchup, and I think Tekla is just like fundamentally not doing powerful enough things right now. So
Yeah. Apparently, if you do nothing but physical vanilla attacks and have no way of going super above rate, he's pretty good. You know, if you're just playing super math dot format that we were kind of in last time, he can kind of hang out in the middle of like top of C, bottom of B tier. I feel like he was at like he won some pro quests, I think, right?
I don't know. I don't follow the ProQuest super close, but I don't think he's good against decks that are just trying to like push on hits through evasion. Like I actually think he's okay against Azalea because you just like block pretty well and you're just like trying to semi fatigue her. And if she takes an off turn or has a weak turn or you warmongers her, you can kind of use that time to equip your Evos and buy more
Oh, because you
life.
just named
So,
Peace. I was like, how is
yeah,
he going to equip
you're
Evos
not
through
you're not
that?
hitting her. So
You named the other mode.
yeah. So I I think he's just in a rough spot because the singularity is really powerful, but it's hard to find as a one of in a 60 card deck. There's just not a consistent way to make sure you get it. And sometimes you draw it early, and then what do? You put it on the bottom of your deck, you arsenal it for 8 turns. Like, it's just really tough.
Yeah.
And without singularity, I think Tekla Boston's just like not very good.
Yeah. I wish I was working for LSS still at that time. I would have fixed bright lights.
Okay.
I could have made it even brighter. Those lights could have been bright.
Who's next?
Staying on theme with bright lights, Max.
Oh, I got one spot before my Max, but go on. Tell me about Max.
Supercell. It's a cool card. You get to do more hyperdriver things.
Yeah, it's a pretty big upgrade to Blue Recharge, but Blue
It's a pretty
Recharge
low
was a
floor.
card that you weren't happy about. You just put it in because you felt like you needed to. I think Max's biggest issue really is that he can't run generics because he has to boost, but he wants to play this defensive deck where he wants to be playing like Sink Below and Fate Foreseen and kind of block until he gets his Mexu, and then he wants to pivot and do all the boost stuff. But like, the deck doesn't work if you put like 8 D reacts in your deck. It just stops functioning.
Yeah, and they're kind of stuck because of Teklo Pounder. I think they probably want to maybe print like a mech defense reaction, but Teklo Pounder exists, and then as soon as you print like a mech defense reaction, it just goes right into Tree Frog Fatigue Dash, and it's like that's probably not a deck you really want to push, huh?
You're talking about Induction Chamber and Plasma Purifier?
Yeah, but they're only good because of Plasma Pistol, right?
Oh, Teklo Plasma Pistol. Yeah.
Yeah,
Teklo Pounder is the 2-cost blue item.
yeah, but none of those items really do anything for like the other weapons, right? I guess like Symbiosis Shot. No, because Symbiosis Shot just like
Yeah. Teklo Plasma Pistol. I get it. Yeah, that card is very, very impactful, and
yeah, it's a good weapon.
It's Dash's signature weapon, right? Dash
Yeah,
IEs.
as soon as she allows, you can probably start ramping up some maybe defensive elements of Mechanologist again a little bit. But until then, they have this super busted attack as many times as you want weapon that can just sit there and do nothing and generate a million steam counters and just like present this hard fatigue game plan with like the support that it has now. Like it's already like a fine, pretty legitimate deck. You probably just don't want to like push that to like an A or S tier, like kind of thing, because it just doesn't seem like it's not a very fun gameplay loop for anyone involved.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Max is a little bit better than Tekla right now because he can kind of like play a more aggressive role when he needs to. He's not just like stuck just blocking and like needing to semi fatigue his opponents. He like can be pretty aggressive until he finds his combo, and then he uses his combo to like just like kill people. I think he's a little bit better than Tekla right now, but not a lot.
Yeah. So you had one more hero in D tier?
I have 3 more heroes in D tier, but I've got one between Max and Teklo.
Oh, go for it.
That's Vincent. I think she is a hero that we just haven't found the perfect 80 yet. Probably because it doesn't exist. I think her cards just aren't strong enough right now. The new card that is a 1-cost Rune Gate, I think, is a big boon to her. It helps quite a bit. It's definitely a card that she needed. I just think she needs reasonably more than that. She needs like ways to efficiently make these rune chants to play these bigger Rune Gate cards. And this 1-cost Rune Gate card helps where if you don't have your Rune Gate stuff going, then you can do this. But the issue is more that it's really hard to do the Rune Gate stuff.
Yeah.
It's really hard to support it.
I put Vincent in C tier, but we'll get there.
Yeah, because you didn't really have an F tier at the start. I feel like your C tier is like a mix of my like top of D tier, bottom of C tier.
Mine's almost a perfect pyramid. I think it skews to one extra hero in A tier that could probably drop down, but aside
like
from that,
rectangle.
I have 2 in A, or 2 in S, 2 in F, 4 in D, 7 in A, and then 6 and 6.
Yeah, mine's like a rectangle. I got 5, 5, 5, 4, 5, 3.
Yeah, kind of. You have the bell curve distribution of heroes, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I don't think there's a lot of heroes in the middle right now. I think there's heroes that are like on the bottom, heroes that are on top, and then there's a few heroes in the middle. But yeah. So next in D tier we got Viserai. Viserai is a hero that has done some very, very powerful things in the past. I don't think he's gotten a card that has gone in the deck in quite a while. I think the new Sonata is, it's not new anymore, but the Sonata that goes in tutors for Auras based on Rune Chance is cool, and it definitely opens up avenues to play like a more defensive Viserai. But I think that deck kind of has like the same problems that Max and Teklo have, where sometimes defending isn't good.
Mhm.
And I think he ends up just being pretty similar. The defensive Viserais end up being pretty similar to Max and or Teklo or any of these mediocre defensive decks. And the offensive builds, they just don't have the punch that they used to, and they're very vulnerable to disruption, and aren't getting as much power as some of the other aggressive decks are for it.
Yeah, I actually have him in B tier.
B tier. Okay.
Yeah. I think he could potentially be a sleeper deck for the format, depending on how things shake out. I know before he retired from Flesh and Blood, Zach Bunn made day 2 of the Calling in the last format with Viserai. I lost to a Viserai on camera in the Pro Tour. I think there's some interesting builds of him that are floating around between like either an OTK plan or the aggressive package. And because he's such a fringe deck, but both of those fringe decks are equally played on the fringe, it kind of makes it hard to know what kind of Viserai you're playing against right now. And then I think he could just be a hard counter to New. Like I could definitely see that being the case. I haven't tested that matchup a lot, admittedly, so I could just be completely wrong. And if he's not good into New, then just drop him back down to like D tier, probably C tier. But if I'm expecting, hypothetically, if not New, sorry, Enigma, I think he could be pretty good into Enigma. Oh my goodness, I'm tired, Michael. It's been a long day. I think he could be pretty good into Enigma, the hero that has all of the
Yeah.
ward stuff, where you can just like send mixed damage, and it's really hard for then Enigma to keep her ward auras on the battlefield because she has to choose between arcane barriering and then blocking these big dumb physical attacks. Like that seems like it'd be hard for her to deal with.
Yeah, I do agree that Viserai is pretty good at killing the ward auras. I think that a good Enigma matchup isn't enough to pull a hero out of D tier. But
Yeah, that's fair. I might be too high on Viserai, but sometimes you just got to be that guy. I gotta carry on Zach's legacy. You
yeah,
know,
fair. Right. Then my last D tier hero is Riptide. This hero keeps getting better. They keep giving him more cards. He's slowly creeping up my tier list. He's still not good. You still probably shouldn't play Riptide. Well, I mean, you can play Riptide. He has some good matchups, and if you read the field to be a very specific way, you can be pretty good into them. But Azalea has a much cleaner matchup spread. She's gets red in the ledger, which is very good against the aggressive decks that Riptide's traps are good against. She's better against the decks that are trying to block out because she has so much access to dominate. And overall, I think that Riptide, while not a horrible pick, he's still not in the best spot. And maybe a couple more specializations and he'll be there, but he still has the same fundamental flaws of being a defensive hero without a weapon that's just like vulnerable to getting fatigued out.
I have him top of B tier.
Top of B tier.
Mm-hmm.
Talk
Have you
to
seen
me
his win
about
rate on Talishar this month? I
no.
guess it's only been a day, like or that they've started releasing these stats, and it's only 1,500 games, but he's got a 60% win rate or 58% win rate.
Must be
He's
broken.
he's very good into Enigma. He's probably he is a 60% win rate into Enigma right now, one of probably his best matchups overall. He's really good into New because it turns out the deck that's full of defense reactions is really good into the deck that wants to play a lot of attack reactions and attack with these chippy little daggers with go again and pump. Like all of his traps are turned on. I've been testing a lot of New, and Riptide has been a nightmare. I've yet to beat a Riptide on New. I think I'm like 0-5 into Talishar Riptides. So again, getting my butt handed to me in that matchup. He's good into Zen with a 57% win rate so far. So far, his only bad matchups that are like truly horrendous, like reminiscent of old Riptide, are Kano, Prism, and Victor. And aside from that, like he's got like a reasonable matchup spread into every single hero at the moment.
Yeah, I think all the new heroes are gonna have worse matchups into weird decks than they will once they're more refined. Like
Well,
I expect,
fundamentally, he's a nightmare for new and Enigma. Just on like, no matter how refined you get, just like if you look at game plan v game plan, like he's dealing damage at instant speed to Enigma on her turn when she attacks with go again like attacks, which she wants to be doing quite often in order to like be getting good rate off of things. Like she can't help it unless you're playing like refraction or having some other weird game plan into it. But even then, I could see that like you're still going to be attacking with like buffed attacks, which is going to turn on some number of his attacks, and he's still pushing like a lot of really annoying on hits for uh Enigma to deal with. Like she hates getting blood rot tokens, and he's a hero that has a lot of on hits that are pushing those uh on hits. He has Murkmire grapple, same as Azalea. So like it's just a really, I think it's like a pretty bad matchup for Enigma.
yeah, I wouldn't argue with this. I think Enigma must be higher on your tier list than she is on mine because you keep bringing up Enigma as a reason that these heroes are good, and I'm like, I would be surprised if she's more than like 5% of the meta at nationals. I think she's gonna be. I don't know. I don't think she's gonna be that popular of a deck, but maybe I'm crazy. People do love illusionists,
Yeah, have you
and
ever?
I think
Yeah, people love illusionists.
I think that having a bad Kano matchup and a bad Prism matchup, that's a big deal. Those are two decks that have been winning a lot of tournaments recently.
Yeah, well, this will this boost your confidence in him. Here's, you want to know his best win rate so far right now? He's crushing it.
Boy.
Rhinar. I mean, if you got a good Rhinar matchup, I don't know what else to say, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Top of B tier. Ship it.
All right. That's all. That's all my D tier.
Speaking of Rhinar, bottom of C tier. I think he's
Dude, you
fine.
love Rhinar.
He's fine. He's a brute. Brute's got good cards. He's got the new chest. He's got good brute cards. He does brute things. It's not his time to shine. It's not a lot of fatigue decks running around, but like, I don't know. He seems fine. He's probably bad into like the hyper aggressive decks that he's still always been bad into, but I just don't. I think like he's like slightly below to slightly at just like middle of the road damage guy brute.
Yeah, I kind of talked about Rhinar. I think he sucks. I think the other two brutes are good. Brute has very good equipment suite, but they're just like, in my opinion, not really a reason to be Rhinar over the other heroes. I think he does less damage and just is not any more consistent than the other heroes are. So
Yeah, that is looking rough for Rhinar. So, but right next to Rhinar though is also just Fi, middle of the road numbers guy. If you want to play this style of big attacks, go for it. Victor.
yeah, Victor's in my C tier. Also, he's up a couple spot, or there's a couple heroes below him. But yeah, I think Victor is in a weird spot where he has some pretty good matchups and some pretty bad matchups. Just like the nature of how his hero power works and clashing works. I think he just like is inherently pretty bad into some of the very good heroes, but he also just like dunks on Ninja and other decks that want to attack with small attacks and can't avoid just getting clashed and giving up free cards.
Yeah, yeah. Still not a good time to be Guardian though. Still a lot of rough matchups out there. But if you're dead set on being a Guardian, if you're Kale McCreath out there and you're just a Guardian, although I think even he announced he was off of, he put Guardian down for the moment. But if you really just want to do the thing, Victor's your best bet to be doing the thing right now.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to play Guardian, then yeah, Victor's almost certainly your best choice. So you're still gonna have some pretty tough matchups.
Yeah. What else you got in C tier then?
All right, I got a couple of ninjas. I couldn't decide which one I wanted to rate higher, so I put Fi above Katsu. I think that Fi is like kind of doing something different from the other two ninjas, whereas I think Katsu's probably just the worst version of Zen. He doesn't bring anything to the table. He doesn't have a real specialization that you want to play. He doesn't have a talent, so he just like loses access to a lot of the good cards that Zen gets access to, and he just really needs his on hits to hit to do powerful things, and he's just kind of, in my opinion, I think Katsu's just like middle of the road, has a fine matchup spread, is reasonable into everything, but is just like slightly behind against a lot of decks. And I think there's a definitely a better choice if you want to be playing Ninja. Fi brings some other things to the table where Fi is like one of the best decks if you're trying to combat fatigue with an aggro deck. You're just like very consistently able to go to present a lot of damage. You get Shuko plus Flame, which is really strong. And yeah, I think Fi does have good numbers, and although he hasn't gotten much support in a while, it's just a strong deck.
Okay. I also have Fi in C tier, but not
Then
Katsu. I have Katsu higher.
okay, we'll talk about Katsu more when you get to
Mm-hmm.
my last two heroes in C tier. I have Kasai. I think that, not counting Olympia, Kasai is probably the weakest warrior right now. I think that she does some pretty powerful things. I rated her a lot higher before, but I think that Hatch's Dory is better, and I think Bolton's probably better as well because Bolton's more flexible. I think that Kasai has a very, very good matchup into KO, which is one of the best decks in my opinion. But she struggles into a few of the other decks, and overall, I don't think she's the best choice right now.
Yeah, agreed. I put Olympia and Kasai like right next to each other in like the middle lower end of C tier. Like they're kind of identical. I guess like Kasai's probably still like a bit better, but like Olympia did get his new like specialization, cool new thing to go get more equipment. So like there's some kind of interesting builds you can do there to kind of like rebuy some of your powerful equipment, and that strategy like like warrior armor already is good, and getting more of that good armor for more blocky dues is good. So I think that card seems promising. Do I think it's like enough to overhaul him and like make him an amazing deck in the meta? No, but I think it was a solid upgrade for the deck.
Yeah. I think that card is less impactful, and it seems less impactful to me uh than that. And I still think Kasai has a lot going for her. I think Raisin Army is a really strong card. I think her hero power is pretty good, generating a few extra gold over the course of a game, and also reducing your sword attack costs when you've drawn a card. Both those abilities are pretty relevant. And yeah, I think her biggest issue is you have to put a bunch of yellows in your deck to turn on her hero power. And if you could just banish 4 cards that didn't have to be yellows, I think Kasai would be quite good. But
Who are the decks you were trying to raise an army into before? Like where was Raise an Army good before?
it was basically good against a lot of the decks that struggled to kill it. So like the Guardians, the Brutes, they killed the soldiers, the Guardians, the Brutes, and that might be it. Though there would be game states where you just ended up raising an army in other matchups too. All right, last hero in C tier for me is Dash.io. I think this hero is like still doing some powerful things. Boom grenades off the top are really good. Guardians are in a bad spot, which were traditionally one of Dio's tougher matchups was the Guardians. I think that she can race a lot of the aggro decks. She puts out a lot of damage, but just maybe the perfect 80 hasn't been found yet, but she hasn't been doing she doesn't have any results, so I felt like I couldn't really put her higher than this.
Yeah, I lumped both of them together and like close to the bottom of B. Like they're fine doing mechanologist things. I think Dashio kind of has just a fundamental explosivity that just always kind of has to be respected. Like the numbers on that deck can get like out of control if it high rolls a little bit and gets like the boom grenades at the right times, and the symbiosis shot lines up right with like the items. Like they're like when the deck is like going, it's popping, dude. It is doing something that looks insane, and then it plays an average game and it looks meh, and then and then Dash is still just a Dash, same old as she's ever been. Fine, middle of the road, number of dues. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, I think if Dash.io ever gets really good, we just got a good new hate card for the weakest link. That's a card that can be quite good against a deck filled with 15 items, 15
Yeah.
plus items. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think she's even if she does end up being better than this, I don't think she'll like ever be in a spot where she can be top tier for a while unless she gets like some really really good cards for her.
Yeah. To be fair, I guess like maybe we also have like maybe a gulf between like before we used to talk about metas and we would say like, oh, all the heroes in this range are still pretty close together. We have like, and like maybe at times like there would be like one or two decks that were like way up here, but aside from that, everybody was just kind of like close together up here. Right now, I basically have it in my mind. It's like S tier, A tier. You're making a mistake. Like I think everybody
Really?
below A tier is just like significantly worse than anything else in S and A tier at this point.
Well, well, I do think that S and A tier are your best shots. I don't think we're in a an
Like B and C tier heroes are like heroes like, yeah, I take this to an armory. I chill at an armory and like go and like have a fight, or like maybe if I'm rocking a pro quest and I already have an invite or something like that, yeah, I'd take one of these heroes. Cool, like for funsy, casual, but still have like a reasonable chance of winning and like have some cool matchups and stuff like that. Sure, but like anything below A tier, like it's not really doing it for me.
yeah. I think I guess part of the reason that some heroes I would put in like B and C tier over the lower tiers is I think there's like room to find a build of them that is potentially quite good, and maybe that's a reason that Riptide should be the bottom of C tier instead of like the top of D tiers. I think if you find the right build in the room and it's the right meta game, then I think it's a reasonable choice. Like if you get your good matchups, then you could reasonably top 8 with it or do well in a tournament
Mm-hmm.
with it.
That's fair. Yeah, that's kind of why I put him higher because I guess I have the same sentiment, just different placement overall in like the tier list.
Yeah. Do you have anyone else in C tier?
My C tier is as follows: Vincent, Phi, Kasai, Olympia, Victor, Reinar.
Okay, let's move to B tier.
Bottom of B tier, Uzuri.
Same Uzuri.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to do like a red line, like stealthy build, I think she's probably reasonably interesting. Like I said, when I was talking about if you see an assassin in a set and you're like, "Ooh, we get some cool new assassin cards." Uzuri got some cool new assassin cards. Lots of cool new cards with stealth. The blue stealth cards are obviously insane and fit right into her deck. Even if you're not trying to go like full red line, they're still just like busted cards that are just doing just like very very powerful things, especially for blues that have one power, but they are deceptively just like pushing on hits or buffing and like just doing some really degenerate things for being blue stealth cards. At the same time, you can still just swap out into like a command and conquer if your opponent's like blocking or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it could be kind of tough for Uzuri to turn on bonds. Bonds of I can't remember
Sure.
the name of this card, but
Agony.
I think yeah, bonds of agony. I think oh gosh, the name's prognosis. The other one.
Yeah. I should know this one. It is prognosis something. You said prognosis and it threw me off. Mystic. Fritz Mystic no. I see the
It's not
art.
mystic, right? It's just assassin.
No.
Persuasive prognosis.
Persuasive prognosis. Yeah. I don't like the art. I don't care for the art on this card. This art
I don't know what the art looks like. I don't look at the art very often.
the art sticks out in my mind. It's just something that looks a little wonky. It's
Okay.
like a lady's like stealing a guy's soul through his mouth, but it just looks a little too like 1990s CGI for me, I guess.
Okay.
Uh,
Hope the artist of this card is not listening.
yeah,
We love
sorry
your
if
cards.
you are
Fab
Mario Wibby Sono. I'm sure you have a lot of very amazing and talented work, and this is way better than what I can do as like a stick figure. Like if you don't want to see what my art for persuasive prognosis looks like, it's not making the cut. So yeah, and you know, art's subjective, man. Like just because I don't like it, I'm sure it's somebody else's favorite art in the whole world. They love that blue soul coming out of that guy's mouth. It looks sick to them. But you know, just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's objectively bad. It's just, you know, like it's just not my vibe, yo.
So anyway, Uzuri is probably the best death touch deck. I don't know if a death touch deck is a thing, but it's actually a deck that can make really good use of red death touch. Gets the Codex death touch back. honestly, kind of a death touch deck. I feel like where you're playing a bunch of death touches, and if death touches are good, which they are, then the hero can't be that bad because you got to play a lot of death touches.
Even swapping in, is it Virulent Touch? The one that if it's blocked by an action card, you create a Blood Rot Pox
Yeah.
uh, by your opponent. Like, I think that card could be reasonable in the meta as well, just for swapping it in against Enigma at least.
uh-huh.
And Prism. And I think it's fine into Prism as well. I think it's fine into both the Illusionists.
Sure. I think the fact that that card blocks too makes it kind of not a great.
Death Touch blocks too, Michael.
Yeah, but death touch is like above rate. It's a 1 for
Yeah.
6.
Virulent Touch is above rate. It's a 0 for 6.
Sure. All right. Next, I got Bolton. You put this guy at F tier. He's not that bad. He's fine. You can play Raiden. You can play Sabers. Both versions are like reasonable. I don't know what the best 80 is. I don't spend a lot of time on Bolton, but I think that with how well this year performed and how strong he is with all the new cards he's been getting, I think it's kind of silly to put him at the bottom of F tier or put him in F tier. He's just very reasonable and yeah, reasonable. Middle of the pack. B2.
When does this stupid kit come out? They announced it. There's just no reason to play him. Like, just wait. He's going to be a completely transformed, revitalized, cool new hero, and it's just like.
I think most likely there's just going to be like one Majestic that slots into the deck, and the hero's not going to change that much.
No, there's some armor. His shoes in it are broken.
Okay. One new Majestic shoes slots into the deck.
He's got, and there's a couple of cards that they spoiled into it. For as much as I said I didn't look at it. Oh well, like the spoilers aren't on the product sheet page, but there was like a defense. Like I had always asked for a defense reaction that charges your soul. They printed a defense reaction that charges your soul, which is like a huge boon. We haven't even seen like if there's going to be any new charge cards themselves in it, but we'll see. Like there's a third new headpiece that looks reasonable to include in the deck as well. Yeah, I think there's going to be lots of cool new things in this deck for Bolton.
But that doesn't mean he's F tier now.
I also think he's horrendous. If you have a Mystic talent in your like text anywhere on your hero box, Bolton should probably just walk away from that match. I think he's horrendous into all three of the Mystic heroes, which is also why I put him in F tier. I think everything he's doing lines up poorly. That everything they are doing, he is not fast enough or good enough to race Zen. He is. Surprise, just like into Dromai, he struggles into an illusionist that is putting lots of things on the board because he just isn't pushing like enough consistent damage, and Enigma's blocking with nothing but non-attack actions and defense reactions. And New just tears his hand apart, and he's a hero that needs to have like kind of some kind of synergistic hands that kind of go together and mesh reasonably well. Yeah, to do the things. And if she just gets like the right banishes at the right times and just like hits your like Lumina Ascensions, like okay, like you lose the game on the spot. Like whether you're playing Raiden or Sabers, there's no good game plan that like functions into like any of those three heroes core game plans. So that's also why I put them at the bottom of FF, because I expect the new hotness Mystic heroes kind of be like all over the place. Everybody's gonna be excited to play them. They're like very powerful heroes. We'll get to that in a minute, I'm sure. But while they're at the top, he's at the bottom as far as I'm concerned.
I haven't put the time into Bolton. I think he has tools to have at least reasonable matchups into some of them. So I don't think New can consistently always banish his Lumina Ascensions, for example.
Maybe it's also because I know Bolton better than anybody who's playing Bolton on Talishar, but I've yet to lose to a Bolton on
What percentage of your games do you lose on Talishar?
I think I'm like 60% at the moment because I keep changing in like 5 to 10 cards between builds. Can't stick to anything consistently. I'm like, no, I lost this game. Clearly, we need to take out these 5 cards. So we got to find the perfect 80. If I had the perfect 80, I wouldn't have lost that game. Change those cards. Oh, we won a game. Cool. We found the perfect 80. We lose a game. Okay, we don't have the perfect 80. Change those cards. We'd never lose a game if we had the perfect 80. You got to keep. That's how you build a deck.
Sounds a little results oriented.
Nah,
Yeah.
nah, 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 nah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, because you go by the results of whether or not you won the game to know whether or not your deck has the perfect 80 cards. If you had the perfect 80 cards, it would be 100% win rate.
Okay. All right, moving on. I got Dash, Inventor Extraordinaire. This hero's still doing powerful things, but it's just like I think it has some good matchups into some of the top decks too. It just isn't consistently doing something that's like at the same level as the best heroes in the game right now.
Sure.
You can go the full boost package, which is strong. Its vulnerability to fatigue isn't really that big of a deal right now, as most of the heroes that can fatigue a full boost mech are not good right now. But you still just get outraced by some of these other heroes, and you don't have disruption. And a lot of the best heroes in the game, they're just like doing numbers better than you, and your 3 block density insulating you against disruption doesn't really do much because they don't care if their attacks hit or not. They're just doing big numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
Then
Anybody else in B tier?
last tier and B tier for me is Dorinthia. I think
Same.
both Dawnblade and Hatchets are both not in horrible spots, but you need to put a lot of work in and figure out all of your matchups. And I think that she just seems weaker than some of the best heroes in the game. I don't think that. I just think that she doesn't have the numbers to compete with them, basically.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree largely. Like, it is nice that there are heroes at the top that have a bunch of no blocks in their deck for her to try to like build the counters, but at the end of the day, she's still like Zen's like just raw offensive value. I think will just completely outstrip her. Enigma is still going to be able to play this really strong defensive game and make it really hard for the Dawnblade to ever actually connect. Despite the fact of her having that specialization that makes it so you can't prevent damage, Enigma's still just shaping out to be a deck that's like 15 defense reactions and ward cards. Seems pretty good. And New is you can build a million counters on your Dawnblade, but New's going to take your whole hand from you eventually and just strip every last card from you and reset your Dawnblade cleanly while pushing a bunch of damage. So all three sound like pretty bad matchups.
Okay, ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
A tier?
Prism, bottom A tier.
Same, bottom A tier. I got Prism.
There we go.
Doing powerful things. Heralds are good if they aren't getting popped. She's pretty good. She has 32 life though. That's not a lot of life, and I think she has a rough matchup into decks that can naturally include a decent amount of poppers.
So this isn't settled yet. Who's favored into Prism via Enigma?
I don't know. You tell me.
Teleshar / Fabrary has it at 40% with all of 250 games played.
40% for Prism or 40% for Enigma?
40%. So Enigma's winning 60% of the time. Prism's winning 40% of the time.
Okay. I know the Enigma that just won the ProQuest Plus had 3 CNC, it had 3 red Bastion, Battlefront Bastion.
Yeah.
That's a decent amount of poppers. And if you need to kill a ward aura and you attack with your Herald and it gets popped, it seems like that could be pretty game losing.
Yeah. Because it turns out illusionist mirrors usually have a lot to do with like who's ahead on board. So whoever's better at managing the board usually comes out ahead.
Yeah, it kind of seems like in the Dromai mirror, if they could pop your dragons that are attacking their dragons, then it would be pretty hard to clean up a board if they have a popper sometimes. Mm-hmm. But that's like a one-sided thing where Enigma can pop heralds, but Prism can't pop to defend her board. She can't defend her board at all. So,
well, if we even look to the original Prism v Dromai matchup, like OG Prism versus Dromai, original Prism was favored in that matchup because it was easier for the Spectra Auras to clean up dragons than it was for the dragons to clean up Spectra Auras, just fundamentally because Spectra's broken. So if once again it comes down to like, well, it's easier for these ward auras on Enigma's side to stick around than angels and things like that, these that are a little bit clunkier and harder to set up, I can see it being kind of in Enigma's favor. But I know a lot of people are saying that they thought that just the heralds alone would be enough just because their raw offensive value is so high. But I guess if Enigma starts playing like 6 to 8 poppers, 6-9 poppers. I can see how that swings that around pretty quickly.
Yeah, six poppers and some D-reacts help too. I
Yeah,
I think if Prism actually moved back to a more Spectre game plan with like Genesis and Merciful, I could see that being enough to swing the matchup. Merciful is very good against Enigma. You attack, you pop
true.
some
Yeah,
things, and Merciful triggers. Like that does seem like pretty rough for Enigma to deal with. But I think Prism to be built in a way to compete with like the faster aggressive decks kind of currently feels like it needs to rely on Heralds. And if Heralds aren't good enough into Enigma, then the matchup's going to be bad.
yeah, true.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right above Prism, I guess we could talk about Prism into the rest of the field. You're still probably bad into Brutes. You're still
Yep.
probably losing the race to Zen a little bit. You're beating up Kano, which is maybe, I guess we haven't talked about him yet, so he's at least in our A or S tier at this point. And you're just good into the rest of the field because Heralds are just so good and efficient.
Yeah. Yep. I think you're bad into Guardians, but not
Sure.
really that relevant. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think she has a lot of pretty good matchups against decks that aren't very popper heavy, and I think that having basically a horrendous KO matchup makes it so I think it's pretty hard to put her too much higher.
Yeah. Right above Prison, I actually have Katsu.
Okay, tell me about Katsu. Why is he an A tier?
He got some new tools, like I said, from he's a ninja. There was a ninja in this set, so there were some base ninja cards that he got. There's some solid upgrades to his plans, and at the end, and he's pushing very silly numbers, capable of 50 damage turns still as well. And at the end of the day, decks that can just be a little bit disruptive with his dishonor line, so he has that element going for him as opposed to Zen. I think there are reasons to play him over Zen, and if like the metagame shakes out in a very hyper particular non-blocky way. But yeah, I don't. I think overall, I think Zen's still better at the moment based on how things are looking.
Yeah, I think Zen is better. Can you name one card that Katsu should include in their deck from the new set?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I cannot. That's why I'm asking.
I thought it was he's not running Aspect of Tiger Body.
He could. That's okay.
Yeah, I thought he was playing. I thought that card's pretty good. He's
Yeah.
not playing Blue Nimblism.
Wait, what? Blue Nimbus.
It swings Gadachi.
You're thinking of some limited Katsu over there.
You can play Rowdy Locals. You can get Rowdy Locals off of Basketball Links.
Yeah. You can also get a Salt the Wound. Or what's the other one? Tenacity.
I thought, doesn't he do something? No, he doesn't use any of the equipment. I guess it was really just aspect of the Tiger. I thought these cards were seeing some play in him, but maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah. I think that card could be playable in Katsu. It's quite good on Art of War turns where you get you gotta go 2 chain links wide. And if you're ever doing Kitty Cat Katsu, then you definitely got some new tools. But the bonds line didn't really get any support.
Yeah, that I knew.
Okay. Speaking of new, that's next for me. I got new.
Yeah, I am new as well in A tier.
So, Mystic Talent, very, very strong. Levels of Enlightenment, pretty messed up card. Traverse the Universe. Is that what it's called?
I think so, yeah.
Traverse the Universe. Probably the best hat we've ever seen.
Yeah,
maybe worse than Crown of Seeds, but
pairs
I think
really well if you're going to start playing the best defense reaction we've ever seen.
I don't know about that.
I mean, when you're pitching Chi, it's just broken, right?
Yeah, it's one card better than like a Sync or a Fate, or 1 point better than a Sync or Red Sync or Red Fate, but it's a blue. But it's very conditional on having the Chi. So I think
not if you're playing Traverse. You do the thing. Value.
Yeah,
Even works on the combat chain because you do the blocks first and then you do the combat or the defense reactions. That's how combat goes, Michael, if you didn't know. So you get to block with the hat, go get your Chi, and then you go to defense reactions, and then you get to play. You pitch your Chi to the defense reaction, and then it's like a hat that like blocks 2 and draws a card. That seems pretty broken, right?
You lost me there. It is a hat that blocks 2 and draws one of the best cards in your deck. I think it's quite good. That said, I don't know if new should be on that hat most of the time. I think the other mask is quite good as well. The
True.
being able to pitch a chi at attack reaction speed to make your opponent banish a card from their hand. It's kind of like a coronet peak that doesn't cost your action point, and your opponent doesn't know it's coming because your deck's full of other attack reactions also. So and it doesn't go back in your deck, so it comes up in fatigue things and turns on news hero power as well, where like if you banish some good blues, then your things are looking not great when she activates her hero power and gets to play them. So I think New is pretty powerful. I think she has probably the most polarized matchups of the 3 Mystic heroes, because the better their blues are, the better New is into them in general. And the more vulnerable they are to her disruption, also the better she is into them. I think she's strong.
Yeah. I think after putting a lot of time and hours into New at recently, I think she's fine into like matchups where like you're trying to go like all for cycle, because just her disruption can line up really well and just like make your opponent just have unplayable turn cycles. So even if you're playing at or slightly below rate, much like Icelander, if you just like completely cripple your opponent's turn by taking away their blue cards or stripping their key cards out of their hand with these new busted on hits from these stealth cards, or just masking away their hand time and time again, and then making sure that they're getting some, like you just build up this critical mass of blues in their pitch, and then you can just kind of like combo them. Like you can combo kill some people with like enough like blue build up because of her weapons. The problem is like if you go second cycle, and the later the game goes, the more cycles you go, the more the cheat cards hurt you. The more you're just like, oh, I'm at lower life total now just because of like the natural attrition of the game. I have 2 cheat cards in my hand. I have to eat 1,000,000 damage, and unless my opponent has blue defense reactions in their banish zone, I just can't block turn cycles anymore. And I don't know if you knew this, Michael, but daggers are not good turn over turn for pushing damage. They're pretty bad when you're just trying to race or like close end games with them, unless your opponent's like at exactly like 2 life. So I think there are some problems with news hyper end game situations that I'm trying to solve, but I'm sure I'll figure out the perfect 80. But like her tempo game plan is sick.
Yeah, that is an interesting point, where if your opponent is not just like giving you the blues to kill them, like you're not very good at killing them in the end game. You still have the worst weapons in the game. Assassins, they've had that record for a while, the worst weapons in the game. Doesn't seem like it's changing anytime soon.
It's spoiler, Graven Call ain't it. Graven Call doesn't get the job done either. Tried that. Barking up the wrong tree there.
Yeah. Honestly, that's probably it. It's just like Assassin's weapon sucking is the reason New's not one of the best heroes in the game.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at the moment.
Give her a good weapon and she'd be better. Who knew? New.
I'm still probably going to play her in Nats. Like I said, I put a lot of time. I think I know her matchup spread really well. There's a lot of cool, interesting little tricky do's with the hero. A lot of very sophisticated timing windows that really matter. So I'm sure as players get more experience in a new, those edges will get smaller and harder to find. But I think they're still there. And she's just a hero that, like, if you misblock a turn cycle or misevaluate a situation or don't play around the right card at the right time, which good players can do, as much as people might say otherwise, she can just steal games like out of nowhere and feel like a fundamentally unfair hero. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that new does kind of ask you to build your deck in a way that you're not just like dead to your own blues, and also gives you a lot of like really tough decisions in blocking and being like making sure your hand can function if you get one card pulled away from mask, if you get hit by the whatever the on hit is. Like it asks a lot of the opponent when you're playing against new.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Okay, so you had Ayakatsu, you had new. I have KO and Levia. I think are like interchangeable to me at this point. Maybe Levia is a little worse because people seem to think she still has some pretty fundamental game plan problems. I don't know. The new card It's got the big demony man, like all the good Shadow Realm horror cards. Very good card. Does a lot of good things for the deck. Um, so yeah, just you pretty big upgrade on top of also getting like Savage Hash if that's something she's interested in her builds. Just solid upgrades all around.
Yeah, I have Leviah next. KO's a little higher on my list. We'll get to him later, but I have Leviah next. I think that she did get some pretty big upgrades, and I do think that specifically the card you just talked about, Savage, whatever it's called,
Savage Hash.
or no, sorry, what's the
Shadow
the
Realm horror.
Shadow Realm Horror. That card is really good. It's like a mixture of Hungering Slaughter Beast and Dread Screamer, and it's if you get the two banish for Dread Screamer, or to get if you get the two banish to get it go again, like a Dread Screamer, you're getting 1 point above Dread Screamer on your 2-cost go again. If you get all 3 modes and you banish a 1-cost, then you're just going crazy. Like this can be a really, really strong 2-card play. If you banish a 1-cost, you can go this into a 1 for 6. It's a 2-card 13. That turns off your blood debt. It's just so strong. And I think that's Leviah's biggest issue is that she's not the most consistent deck, and even a lot of the very good Leviah players don't want to play her because they feel like the game's a little bit out of their control. Sometimes you just like have a game where your deck doesn't do what you need it to do, and on top of that, you're a Scabskins deck, so inconsistent deck, and you have Scabskin others. It's very, very powerful. I think if it didn't have consistency issues, it'd be the best deck.
I think Mansant and a lot of Leviah Truthers are on hooves now.
Sure, that makes sense.
Sure. It's definitely a build I've seen a lot floating around, but yeah, I don't know. It's still being figured out. But yeah, I think she definitely has higher, I can see Leviah being a deck where she has higher ceilings but lower floors than KO, but KO just being just the all around like more statistically average, better deck. That's kind of why I lumped them next to each other. Yeah, it just kind of depends on whether Leviah can solve those consistency issues or not. Then I got Azalea.
Okay. Tell me about Azalea.
She's got Merc Myo Grapple, so she can beat Enigma. That's all you need to say.
I feel like Enigma's going to be your top hero based on this. Enigma's next on my list. She's in 5th place on my list, the second to best A tier hero. I think she's doing some really powerful things. I think that the ward stuff, being able to block for it, is really powerful, and it demands a lot from your opponent. Their deck needs to be able to put together a lot of damage every turn to break your ward. If something like Mirror Guy, Manifestations of Mirror Guy stays in play 1 extra turn, that can be a single card to attack for 8 or a single resource to attack for 8, go again. But if you are able to clear a ward every turn, it's pretty hard for Enigma to break rate, and that's why I think she's not higher for me. She does get to play all the good illusionist cards before. You can play the Spectral Auras, you can play like the big illusionist phantasm attacks if you want. You can kind of go in a few different directions with her, but D-Reacts plus ward is a powerful combination, and yeah, I think Enigma is very good.
Yep, I agree. I have her second best hero in the game.
Second best, okay. I think a lot of the things you mentioned, all these heroes that have good matchups against her and have things that are really like powerful against her, makes it hard for me to put her that high where I just like, yeah, this seems like a problem. This seems like a problem. This seems like a problem.
Yeah, I think, well, she had a very strong breakout weekend last weekend, winning back-to-back events in Montreal. So strong showing there. I think the core game plan loop that she has, it's, I think a lot of people have been saying, like the comments buzz phrase has been, it's like if you had dragons, but you could block for your dragons, and like that's very powerful. So like I think Enigma so far out of anything has perfectly encapsulated the feel of like hopelessness of fighting an illusionist, to me at least, because it's just like every turn you swing and you're flailing your arms around and you're throwing your attacks and you're throwing some attack reactions and you're throwing big attacks and then you're going wide and then you're doing this and that and you're just doing nothing but hitting air. You're just hitting. You just can't land that punch and actually connect ever. And it can be just so frustrating just seeing your attacks just fizzle turn over turn over turn over turn over turn. And then like you finally get the mirror guy. You finally did it. You touched the mirror guy. You see the end, and then they play another mirror guy. And you're like, come on. I just got over the first mirror guy. Now there's this next mirror guy. How can I beat this mirror guy? And then we won't even talk about mirror guy unlimited. But yeah, very good, very flavorful, very evocative, very powerful. I think the deck is starting to get really tuned. And you know what, Michael? I don't know if you've ever noticed this before. People really like Illusionist.
Yeah.
It's a very popular class. People
I have
really
noticed
like
it. My
doing
5% was
the
probably
things.
pretty ambitious.
Yeah, I think she will easily be 10 to 20% of the metagame at nationals, and yeah, somewhere in that range, depending on how many people really want to. I think depending on if I'm not going to skip to the end thing. We'll loop all the way back around now to Azalea. Azalea, though, also does very powerful things, has unpreventable damage that she can dominate to clear all these ward auras that can really give Enigma trouble. She has the disruptive attacks that really makes it so that Zen can't go wide. She kind of has to present those turns like consistently, and when she doesn't, then Zen can kind of pop off and still steal games. But Azalea's game plan, and especially if Brody Spurlock continues to rep her, I imagine will still continue to be a very dominant force in the metagame, and something that you kind of just always have to make sure you have your D-reacts and just a good plan into what one attack you want to play after you get hit with Red in a Ledger.
Yeah, Red Ledgers are a good card.
Yeah. And plus, the long draw half glove. We didn't talk about this when we talked about Riptide. Kind of give Rangers this new tool into Warmonger's diplomacy, where it was common before. Well, it's just like, oh, I play Warmonger's diplomacy, and you have a non-attack action in your arsenal. Yes, I just time walk you.
Yeah.
Good luck. The half glove at least like gives them a battle worn one block glove that gets that bails them out of that first Warmonger situation. And honestly, like it's not super common that you're gonna like multiple Warmongers, multiple non-attack. Like if you're playing against an opponent, you know they have Warmongers in their deck. It's like it should be pretty easy for you to start to play around that and make sure you have playable arsenals and things like that. So I think the half glove is a solid upgrade to like what was her strongest hate guard before. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think against Warmongers, because a lot of your arsenals are just random ponder tokens from like Premeditate and Codex, you just are arsenaling whatever the top card of your deck is. But you're right, the gloves letting you clear a non-attack from your arsenal if you get Warmongers it's a pretty big boon for Azalea. I think she's in a very good spot.
Yeah. And then right above Azalea, I have Kano.
I got Kano top of A.
Yeah. Scary. He's a scary guy. He got that Kindle card. Although you don't like Kindle, right? You don't think it's real?
No, I wouldn't say I don't think it's real. I think it has a very real cost of putting a brick in your deck for your Kano activations. I think like if you need it to win your race matchups, then sure. But I don't know if you need it. I think you might be able to win your race matches without doing that, though. I do think that the heroes above you, or the heroes in S tier, are pretty good against Kano, and you probably do need the. I think it's probably right to play it because I think your matchups into some of the best heroes are rough without it.
Yeah, particular Enigma, right? Where I know that people have been saying that matchup's not as cursed as you might believe it to be. It's currently only 60% in Enigma's favorite at the moment. Where if you look at Enigma's matchup into Arachne, it's 100%. So she has some pretty polar. All 18 games that have been played on Talishar so much have gone in Enigma's favorite against Arachne. Crazy, but yeah.
Waning Moon does a lot. You can kind of like at least pressure her spectral or not spectral, her ward auras attacking you with Waning Moon, and the Kanos they're smart. They know Enigma is going to be around. They've got their scours ready to go to kill all the spectral auras and they kill spectral shields as well. So I don't think that matchup is doomed. I would say it's Enigma favored, but there's a lot of play skill on both sides.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the name of the game for all the Mystic heroes. It turns out when you just throw in a bunch of instant speed cards all around the format. There's a lot of timing and intricacies and nuance that develop in the format. Who knew? So yeah, it should be. I think, if nothing else, despite it being, I think, a little bit more polarized, it's been a long time since we've seen a set come out and just like take over the metagame like this. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't have the Mystic Heroes quite as high as you do on the tier list, but I do think that they are very powerful, and the format is definitely shaken up. And this is, I think, the Mystic talent. It just has some very intrinsically powerful cards in it. So
yeah. So you have Zen alone in S tier?
No, I got 3 heroes in my S tier.
You have 3. That's cheating, dude. Carol's gonna call you out, dude. You're gonna get torn apart on Twitter. You can't have 3 heroes, and don't you know what S tier means, Michael?
No.
Come on. You can't have 3 heroes. That doesn't even mean S tier doesn't even mean anything anymore now. 3 heroes in S tier.
Well, I mean, like, maybe after a season of nationals, when we have data, it'll be like, actually, I was wrong, and these 2 heroes were A tier, and this 1 hero is S tier. But I think all 3 of these heroes have.
We're never wrong, Michael. We've never been wrong in our tiers.
But I think the 3 heroes that I have in S tier are all very, very powerful. I think they are all better than the heroes below them in terms of like what they're doing, and they've honestly all proven themselves to be quite powerful. So
yeah, KO.
I have KO, I have Azalea, and I have Zed as my S tier.
Mm-hmm.
So
who's number 1? Who's the tippity top?
So I'm going to start at the bottom, as we do in this tier list. I got Zen as the bottom of S tier. I think that Zen's really, really powerful. He just does big numbers, lots of big numbers, and that's it. He has a lot of big numbers. He doesn't block very well. He doesn't care if you block him or not, but he's going to do a lot of damage. Except Tiger Swipe, that one you care about blocking, but he's not going to buff it up, so you can just block and you're fine. Unless he has the grade that tips the scales or something. But anyway, Zen, he has a lot of really strong cards. The new cards are all really strong. The new hat is very, very good. It's just like a Pouncing Lynx that also blocks 2 first. So that's great. It's just +2 from Pouncing Lynx when it works with his hero ability. And yeah, he does a lot of damage. No matter, like, the different builds of him are all good. I think we talked about Zen a couple weeks ago on the podcast, and I said I think he's the best ninja.
I was dubious. I was like, I don't know about this guy. I don't know. Yeah, maybe, but I don't see it. Maybe. But now that's why we didn't do the tier list yet. I needed the time and the information to learn, to build the objectively tier list, to make sure he was the number 1 hero in the game. But that's why we take our time, vet our resources, use scientific data modeling analyses to accurately nail these tier lists, and my metrics have all pointed to him being broken at S tier.
Yep. Fair. The new weapon, it's quite good. It's not as good as Searing Emberblade, but it's pretty close. If you don't have a Tiger, you're getting a 2 go again, which with Emberblade, if you didn't have a Draconic card, you got 3 without go again. So 2 with go again and 3 without go again. It's basically the same rate for 2 resources. If you have a Tiger, you're getting your 3 points of value for 2. That's great deal on your weapon. You get Levels of Enlightenment, still a broken card. You get the hats. You get a really consistently powerful hero ability where you can search your deck for any combo card you want, and also get a Tiger out of the deal, which these Tigers are somewhere between 0 and 1 is what I've been saying. I like saying that a Tiger and Arsenals are somewhere between 0 and 1 because it can turn on like Shuko, it can turn on your weapon, it can do some good things, but sometimes it's just redundant and you just end up playing it for 0 because you have another card you need to Arsenal or something. But yeah, very powerful hero ability, all the powerful Mystic cards, and kind of seems like we might be in a spot similar to when 5 was the best deck, where it's just like this aggro deck that doesn't really have on hits and is just going to outnumbers everybody.
Yep, for sure. Except for KO, who's going to outnumbers him still.
So next on my S tier, I got Azalea, and I think what you said about Long Draw Halfbow being good against Warmongers, and also if you look at all the heroes in S tier and A tier, the only hero that's you ever want Warmonger's Diplomacy in your deck against is Azalea. So it's like a really, really big cost to include it because all the other heroes they don't care about it. It means that we're in a good time for not seeing a lot of Warmonger's diplomacies because it's not good against anybody else. And if Azalea is really, really popular, expect we'll see a lot of Warmongers, but she's really good. Dominate Red on the Ledger, very, very good. Red on the Ledger without Dominate, still very good against that. But he does block quite well. And I think that Azalea also just is a very good numbers deck that pushes through really important on hits. And if the format's leading away from blocking, then she's in a really, really good spot because Infecting Shot, Riddle, Lace with Blood Rot, Premeditate, all these cards just are so good against you if you don't block. And she also gets Codex of Frailty, which is still probably the best card in Flesh and Blood, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think Azalea is very, very good. And do you want to say anything about Azalea before I talk about KO?
What are your blind hypothetical feelings on what the Azalea v new matchup is like?
Azalea v new?
Yeah.
I would expect Azalea just kills new, but I don't know.
Okay.
Was that not right?
It's not great.
Yeah, you just kill her.
And new doesn't have a hero ability in the matchup.
Hey, you can get knocked to death with so you can reload for free. It's great with your death touches.
You just have a Texas hero box in that matchup. Feels real bad.
Yeah. And then I have KO at number 1. I think that KO was the best hero at the last Pro Tour, and he's only gotten better. Run Roughshod and Savage Dash are both very, very strong cards and just make KO even stronger. I think that's there's a lot of inconsistency with being a brute, drawing and discarding random cards, and Scabskin Leathers 2 is a card that you should be activating probably more often than most people playing KO are activating. But yeah, I think KO does these best numbers in the game, and his equipment suite is probably still the best in the game, especially now that he's gotten Savage Dash, where I think his hat is not as good as Traverse, but
it's close, and that's saying something.
yeah, it is close. And Scabskin Leathers, very, very broken. I can't even remember the name of the gloves. I always forget about them. Apex Bonebreaker, very, very broken. Savage Dash, very, very good. Tunic, also good in the matchups that you want to go slower than Savage Dash. KO is just really, really strong. And I think it's Blood Rush Bellow, which is not Codex of Frailty level, but it's close. And that's saying something.
So he could play this card, but do you think he needs to adapt around Weakest Link? Because obviously he's a deck that has a lot of pearls. Do you think his armor is just enough to just mitigate this particular on hit? Or do you think it's something like maybe you start trimming some of the pearls in order to hedge around the Weakest Links floating around in the format?
So I think it's weird because, yes, the Weakest Link is quite good against you. I was playing 6 copies of Bear Fangs at the Pro Tour and 3 Wild Rides, 3 Pulpings. That's a lot of no blocks. Very vulnerable to Weakest Link. And I think it's still probably correct to play a bunch of no blocks because they're just like
so good.
They let you go so far above rate. Like Red Bear Fangs is just a 2-card 9. It's a very good deal. And you have 1 resource floating if you had an agility token or something like Bear Fangs and a Claw and another 2 cost. That's insane with an agility token. I think you can build your deck to respect Weakest Link, but I think you're just making your deck a little bit weaker overall. And I actually think the Weakest Link is a pretty strong card at attacking. I think it's attacking these top decks. I think both KO and Zen are fairly vulnerable to it, and I think they're 2 of the 3 best decks right now. So,
and against Azalea, you could take Rain Razors. You know?
Yeah.
Although I guess they could just cast that one.
Because she'll just cast it. But I mean, honestly, making your discard of Rain Razors is quite good. That's if you could guarantee Azalea had Rain Razors every time you cast Weakest Link, the card would be very, very good against her. There's only 3 copies in her deck.
Yeah. No, the other arrows block 3. I'm lucky.
They do. They block more than 0.
Okay.
What's
Final
your
thoughts? I'd Zen and Enigma. Yeah.
Zen number 1, Enigma number 2.
Yep. I think they're going to be the 2 most played heroes at Nationals. I don't think it'll be close.
Interesting.
Zen, because I think people I think the perception will just be like he's the best numbers deck. It's super early on in the like Zen. I could go flipping between Zen and KO. Like I guess those 2 could be interchangeable depending on which one actually winds up being the better like numberies deck. So that could be it. Maybe even Levia if somebody like really breaks that deck. And Enigma is just like, it's like I said before, people love illusionists, just love them. But like, for all I know, by the time Nationals rolls around, you'll have converted to Enigma. Like, that's just how prevalent and deep the love for illusionist goes, man. Like, it doesn't even matter if she was in C tier. Like, it's a new shiny illusionist, man. Like, and it's not even C tier. It's actually like legitimately powerful and good. It's like everything I feared about Dromai coming true. Dromai not only being playable, but like actually good and like having cohesive game plans that function to like the top tier decks. Like, who knew, man? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think the worst news for Enigma is if a bunch of aggro decks are on top, Illusionist has traditionally not been the best into aggro decks. So we'll see. We'll see.
Sure. Fair enough. Any final thoughts about the format as a whole? Are you excited for Nationals? Are you excited to play Classic Constructed?
Yeah, I am. I think that's it's cool having a set that's so impactful, and I'm not sure what else to say. It's cool having a new set that's like pretty impactful and just like released a lot of power into the format. It's like been fun trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. You know what? You know what is cool and flavorful and powerful and evocative? Talents. Let's just keep talent. Let's just keep these talents going, man. How about we've learned a lesson from this, man? Like, we think back to like heavy hitters. That was cool. It was fine. Everybody said it was a very numbersy format, very boring. Which, fine. I get it. It was a very vanilla format. Look to Dust Till Dawn, or sorry, I even forgot heavy hitters existed. We looked at Dust Till Dawn as like Bright Lights existed. That's how much I forgot it existed. I can't even physically remember the name of the set that it was actually came out and produced in. Dust Till Dawn was completely watered down for fear of the talents. That's how the reverence that they had for the talents made them turn the dial down to 2 to make sure that they didn't break the talents again. And then Outsiders was like, fine. It was like a fine set. It was cool. But like, I like talents just like add that flavor. They just add that next step to everything, man. Like, they just like make it cool, like so much more evocative and fun. It's like, would you want to be like, oh, like, it's just like the argument makes itself. It's like, do you want to be a warrior or do you want to be a light heroic justice warrior? And it's like, okay, yeah, I want all those cool adjectives. It's like, do you want to be a wizard or do you want to be icy, freezy, manipulating, instant speed ice wizard? And it's like, yeah, I want that one. It's kind of like, why did people ever try to play Bravo when old time existed? You could either be like a man with a hammer or you could be special, icy, earthy, giant Santa Claus man with a hammer. And it's like, okay, I want to be Santa Claus. Like, come on, man. Like, talents are just objectively better than non-talented, like everything. That's just, once again, just like art, that's just one man's opinion, but also it's also objectively correct on this one. So that's all I'm going to say.
That sounds like a good spot to wrap it up. Talents are cool.
You want to sing any talent praises?
I'm good. Talents are cool.
Well, the next time you're being a talented individual,